Hey everybody, Mr. Wilkerson here for you. We're going to be going over our new lesson today that me and Miss Milford threw together for you all. Um, Again, she's not here this week. She helped me put the lesson together, but it just works a little easier going this way for us. So we got our first lesson of defense for you guys. So it's week one of defense. We're going to be going over defensive strategy. Defense is pretty fun to me, and for a lot of people, I think defense is kind of a smart thing because it's more about reacting to other things. While offense is kind of trying to outsmart a defense, defense is kind of trying to react to the offense, trying to be smart. um, so we're going to be doing a little bit of that for this week, though. We're not going to be doing what we did last week, which was making plays. We're kind of be going over the positions for the defense. So instead of talking about like quarterbacks, we'll be talking about like linebackers and stuff like that. But we'll get into that in a couple minutes for you all. But I do want to just talk about some of the things that we talked about last week, which was our defense or our offensive strategies, which was like running and passing and stuff like that. I just want you guys to remember that when we talk about some of our defensive stuff. Remember kind of what our offensive players were doing, and you can see kind of what the reverse roles of that for the defense are doing. So saying that, I'm gonna get into our warm up, which is a little warm up about staying healthy during these times. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy time. I'm gonna go back a slide if I can. It's not letting me right now, but it just said defense strategy week one by Mr. Wilkerson and Miss Milford. Um, but as I said, our warm up's just a little warm up to remind you guys staying healthy. Cover your mouth, pretty much. I'll talk about it after the video, but just remember to stay healthy. Here you guys go. Went to the wrong slide. Here we go now. All right, enjoy.
Always call. You need to cover your mouth.
All right, y'all. I hope you were able to enjoy that. Um, so we're gonna be going into. Oh, let me talk about that really quick for you guys. So as I said, it's a pretty uncertain time right now with the world situation. Kind of a weird thing with COVID-19. Um, but if everyone does their part and is able to cover their mouth when they sneeze or cough, wash their hands, and just stays safe, keeps a mask on, everything like that, it'll make the time go by faster. Hopefully, that we won't have to be online for school anymore. Also, help a lot with just staying healthy, helping your immune system out. So just remember that when you guys are coughing or sneezing or anything like that, just to cover your mouth. Be respectful of the people around you and yourself, because you wouldn't want people sneezing on you in public like that. So it's just important to do the same thing. But we're gonna go on to our next part, which is learning the positions. So we got the defensive tackle. So right now I'm just gonna show you guys kind of with my fingers where people are going. But later on I'm gonna have a little screen for you guys that shows you, and I'll talk about it again then. And maybe I'll show you a little bit of like plays and stuff like that where people are going. But as I said, the defensive tackle, right here it says we have the two most inner players on a defensive line. Um, their job is to be a wall to stop any run play by the defense or offense, or the run at the quarterback to pressure him into moving in the backfield. This is to disrupt the play. Some of the cues to the defensive line would be to maintain positioning, stop the run, and rush the quarterback to mess up the play. As I said, their job is to disrupt the play pretty much. So if a run happens, they want to be the guys to stop the run. That'd be the best for the defensive line to stop it because that's the closest people to the line of scrimmage. So as I said, they're the two most inner players. So if you have your line right here, they're both right here. So the ball is in between them, they're right there. Typically, these guys are pretty big dudes. You got some people like 6'4", like 280 pounds. I believe one of the most dominant players in the league right now in the NFL would be Aaron Donald. I don't know how much he weighs or how big he is, but he's a monster. You guys probably know who he is. You got other people like Kadam Sue. He's got a pretty good rep around the league. But yeah, these dudes are some big tough dudes. They they're quick too. They might be big, but they are quick. Um, so we got dudes like that, and as I said, they're pretty important players on the defense. They're kind of the reason that offensive linemen get paid. They don't You don't want your quarterback getting hit by one of these big dudes. But we're going to the next position for you guys, which would be the defensive ends. So as I said earlier, the tackles are right here. Your defense ends are just a little bit outside of them. Uh, so we got the two most outer players on the defensive line. Their job is to push through the offensive line to meet the quarterback or the running back in the backfield. Um, they normally tackle these players in the backfield. That's the ideal of an end, a defensive end. Excuse me. On running plays, their job is to go after the ball carrier and either tackle him or force him out of balance, or either towards another teammate who can make the tackle. So some of the cues to a defensive end would be to sack the quarterback, which is a great play, good loss of yardage, and it's a big momentum play. The next thing is to force a quarterback out of bounds, or a runner out of bounds. Sorry, could be a quarterback. You never know. Or tackle the ball carrier. So if it's not a pass play, it could be a run play. They just want to stop the run. They want to stop the play. That's the main goal. Defensive ends are smart players. They got a big tough job. They got to contain the outside. So you never want to give up the outside because that's where the big plays happen. If you can keep everything inside, you can keep it with the big dudes like the defensive line or the defensive tackles or the linebackers. That'd be the best scenario. You don't want the ball going out towards the cornerbacks who don't want to make tackles. But we'll talk about that later. So defensive ends. I played this when I was younger, and it was a tough job, but it is a fun job to do. But you got some really good defensive ends in the NFL right now. We're not going to go over any of them just because defensive ends in the NFL are a lot different, just because they play a lot uh, more systems than we'll talk about in this class. So I don't want to get it too confusing for y'all. But yeah, you got a lot of good defensive ends in the league. We got the linebackers. So linebackers are pretty important dudes. There can be anywhere from two. It says three there, but you can have anywhere from two or one to four linebackers on the defense. These players line up behind the defensive line and tend to be the best tacklers on the defense. Their job is to defend the run or pass plays of the offensive team. Um, they have to read the offense and play off of them to stop their yard gains. So the cues of the linebacker would be to read the defense or to read the offense. Sorry, I think that's a spelling bee on our part. Sorry about that, y'all. Intercept the pass, or to tackle the ball carrier. So for a linebacker, I pretty much call these guys the quarterbacks of the defense. Normally, they're your captains of the defense. They might be some of the biggest, baddest dudes on the team too. These guys can be a little bit shorter, but typically they're about 6 foot, about 250. There's some pretty legendary linebackers that have gone through the NFL. You got people like Lawrence Taylor, who's a little bit older than most of the players you guys would know now, but he's probably the most dominant player of all time in the NFL. A really good linebacker. Then you got people like Ray Lewis, who was a monster. Played for the Baltimore Ravens, so you guys might know him. He's a legend, future Hall of Famer for sure. Um, he won a championship a couple years ago, Super Bowl. But yeah, he's a beast. These guys are the smart players of the defense. They typically read the offense and make calls for the defense. Um, so they're really important. But as I said earlier, we have our defensive tackles, our D ends, and then you go right back a little bit, about 3 to 4 yards behind the defensive tackles. You got linebackers. You can put two linebackers here, or you can put one in the middle and two on the outside, or you can put two here, or you can put four on the field, so two in the middle, two on the outside. You can do a lot of stuff with linebackers. You can rush a linebacker. You can have them sit back in coverage. Linebackers are really crazy positions. Ball hawks. They want to put their nose on the ball every play. They're like sharks. They'll come for the ball. Um, our next position will be the safety. Um, so these players line up deep in the field behind every other defensive player. They're known as the last line of defense on the defense. The safety is usually a pretty strong player, pretty smart player, and a pretty savage player, I should say, as well. They defend a deep pass, and they also defend the run. If a ball carrier gets to the rest of the defense, you really hope your safety will come up and make a play for you guys. That's like really critical because if it gets past the safety, you never know. It's probably going for six, which touchdown. The cues of this player is the last line of defense. They are the last guys, as I said. They defend the deep pass and they tackle the ball carrier. That's what you want your safety to do, and you better hope they do a good job at that. So, as I said earlier, we got your defensive tackles, your defensive ends, and you got your linebackers at like 3 to 4 yards, and you can have your safeties anywhere from 8 to 15 to 20 yards, depending on the situation. These guys are pretty smart players too. Sorry about that, guys. Just moving a little bit. But yeah, you want your safety to really want the ball. If he's playing defensive coverage, playing like a deep zone, like we said earlier, defending a deep pass, you want them to be able to go up and get the ball. So you want a really athletic player back there who's also strong, just in case they have to make a tackle. I played a little bit of safety in high school. It's a fun position, but it's asking a lot from a player. As I said, they're pretty smart guys. They have to really want the ball. Uh, you have to go up and make some big plays for the team. So it's a lot of pressure on these guys. There's a lot of great safeties that have gone through the league. A lot of good safeties that came through Maryland, actually. We have the late and great Ed Reed, played for Baltimore a couple years ago. He retired, but he was a phenomenal player, one of the greatest of all time, definitely. He did everything they ever wanted from him. He did it all. You also got somebody named Sean Taylor, RIP to him, died a couple years ago, but man, what a beast he was. He played for the Redskins. A lot of people probably remember him if you're a Redskins fan. But then you got people like Honey Badger, Tyrann Matthews. He played for LSU. Now he's in the league as well, but he's a monster. He's changing the game for sure. Um, but all those guys I just named are really phenomenal players and really do their stuff on the field. So those are great safeties and great examples of players to watch if you guys do end up watching any football and want to see what they're doing and what this job is all about. So the final position I'll be talking about today is our cornerback. Um, our cornerback is not the quarterback, corner. Just remember that it's a little bit different spelling. Not a quarter, but corner. Uh, this position, they line up on the ball, or they can line up a little deeper. So they can line up right up against the line or 10 yards back. Depends on how they play, how they want to play. But they're the widest player on the field usually. And usually they're lined up across from a receiver on the offensive end. You guys remember the receivers we talked about last week. These people run routes and go catch the ball. The cornerback covers those people. It's their job to make sure they don't catch the ball. So as I said, their job is to stay on the receiver and prevent them from catching the pass from the QB. They can intercept the ball, which means catch it, which is a really good play. It means a turnover for the offense and gives that team another chance to score. Or they can simply smack the ball down, um, call it a deflection or interruption. Honestly, cornerbacks have a bad rep on the football field. Normally, these guys play cornerback because they can't catch, is what people say. So they play defense, so they don't have to catch it. They could just smack it down. They also are known as people who don't want to make tackles or scared to tackle or stuff like that. Um, they typically go for like an ankle tackle or an ankle bite, which means they just dive at somebody's ankles instead of wrapping them up and tackling them to the ground. Funny saying that, I ended up playing cornerback in high school as well, um, just because that's what my coach asked of me. So I did it. It's a fun position. You get to have a lot of fun out there, but their cues are to intercept the ball, deflect the ball, stay on your man, and one more I'm gonna add in there: tackle the ball carrier if you have to. So, well, I'll go back. Sorry. As I said earlier, we have our defensive tackles, our DNs, our defensive linebackers, our safeties way up top, and then way out wide we have our cornerbacks. But thankfully, I made a little green screen, or I think Miss Milford put this on there for you guys to see. So I'm gonna show you guys our positions we talked about last week, which was our center. This is our offense on the red, and then the white line is the line of scrimmage. So just know that if I ever say that. You got your quarterback and all that, your receivers, tight end, fullback, halfback, center, guard, tackles, tight end. So we talked about our defensive tackles earlier. They line up anywhere from here, anywhere on this inside. Um, Typically, they shoot a gap right here or right here. Same with this guy coming this way, which is depending on like an A, B, or C gap you can hit, which are the names of these gaps. But that's a little more in depth, but we won't get into that. But that's what they do. They can either they try to tackle the quarterback if he goes for a pass, or they try to fly up here and hit the running back if they do run the ball. I think you guys can see my mouse, so I'm really hoping that's what's going on. Sorry, it's not. But the next thing you have is your defensive ends. So this defensive end will typically actually be over here on the outside of this end. Um, so it's just a little weird. But yeah, typically they'll be on the outside, and this end's job would be to make sure that nothing gets outside of him. So if a run goes this way, that he can push it back inside, so the linebacker or the tackles or all these guys over here can make the play. Because if it goes out here, it's only him, the outside linebacker, in the corner to make the tackle, rather than having the rest of these guys over here helping. Or the defensive end can push the ball and make the runner run out of bounds. Because out of bounds is a really good friend of yours on defense. Pushing somebody out of bounds makes you not have to tackle them. It just makes them go out of bounds and saves one less hit on your body, you know. But same with this defensive end. He has to hold this end of the offensive line or the defensive line. You don't want anybody going outside of you. So you can force everything back in here for all these guys, or they can come after the quarterback and make a sack. A lot of good defensive ends, as I said. Really, really good ones can make a good effort on sacking the quarterback, which can be a huge momentum swing in the NFL. Um, the next position we'll talk about is our linebacker, that quarterback of the defense, as I said earlier. As the quarterback, they're pretty much right in the middle of the field. They watch the quarterback, they read the quarterback, and as I said earlier, defense is about being able to react to the offense. So this linebacker really wants to be able to react to anything that goes on back here. If he sees the quarterback drop back for a pass and a running back run for a route, typically the linebacker will follow the running back, or sometimes they'll stay in the middle and watch the quarterback, make sure the quarterback doesn't run. Really depends on the defense. But yeah, they can come up field. So look, if these two linemen right here block these two tackles or these two defensive players, this linebacker can be the one that hits this running back. So it's really important that the linebacker is able to hit and come up field and make tackles. Um, so we got one of our linebackers right there. We got some outside linebackers. You can put outside linebackers anywhere. You can do whatever you want with them. As I said earlier, you can have one linebacker, and you can actually end up putting these two guys on the line of scrimmage, and then you could have two linebackers, so one right here and one right here. It's really different. You can do a lot of stuff on defense. That's what makes it fun. But one of my best friends in high school actually went to the NFL Combine. He played outside linebacker. Not gonna say his full name, but his last name is Remy. So if he ever makes it to a team, maybe you guys will see him. That'd be pretty cool. He's in the NFL Combine, so hopefully he gets a little spot. Um, yeah, so you got that position. They do a lot of stuff as well. They can cover routes. They can cover the run. These guys are very important. They're just as important as every other player. Defense is really about being one team, a whole team. So all these guys are important. They all take responsibility for the play, and these guys are just really awesome players as well. So I guess we'll keep the order we were going in earlier. We'll talk about our safeties next. You can see how far back these guys are. It's pretty insane. They can see everything on the field. Obviously, they got a pretty deep view. They can see everything happen in front of them, and that's how they want it to be. They don't want anything to ever be behind them, because if something's behind them, that means it's probably going to be a touchdown. But safeties, you can either play two safeties or you can play one safety. If you play two safeties, typically you'll bring up another linebacker. As I said, you can have four linebackers. So one safety would actually be a linebacker, and this guy would move over here, and you'd have another one over here, and you just put this guy right in the middle of the field. But safeties are pretty cool. In this situation, this safety would cover over here, and this one would cover over here. This guy would cover right here, and this guy would cover here, and then this guy here, and then this guy would be right here. I know that's a lot of right here's, but it's pretty simple game. It's a little area you cover, kind of like a zone defense. But yeah, that's actually called a cover two. But again, you don't really need to know that. But yeah, these guys, they just have to be able to either make a good play on the pass or they have to make a good play on the run. So they have to run upfield and make tackles. Hopefully these guys will come upfield for you, because if they don't, if they stay here the whole time, I mean, if a running back runs that far, that's 10-yard progress right there. That's a first down every time. So you really want these guys to be on their toes, be able to run deep, but also come up and make the tackle before a first down. But stuff happens in football. You never know what goes on. Last but not least, we'll talk about these guys on the outside, our cornerbacks. In this picture right here, they are a little bit behind the line of scrimmage. I know earlier we told you guys they can be up here, and they can. They can be right against the receiver. So right when the receiver moves, they can push them, they can shove them, they can be aggressive with them. Or if you have a fast receiver, you can stay back a couple yards. Like there's a lot of space between these two players, and that's just so that they don't burn you, they don't get past you. Because as I said, you don't want anybody behind you on defense. Um, so this corner, his job is to make sure this guy doesn't score, and same for this corner over here. Make sure this receiver doesn't score. These guys are fast players. They're sharp. They're smart. Uh, they're important. You just gotta make sure your corners are active and ready to play. Um, but we're gonna get into our last assignment or assessment, I think, for today, which is a little Google form that we're gonna try out with you guys. So Google form, I don't know if you guys have used it before, but it's just an easy way for you guys to turn stuff in for us when it comes to us, and it's pretty easy for us to view. I'm gonna click in through that in a minute and show you guys kind of what we're expecting, but it's not too hard for you all. Okay. So all I'm gonna need you guys to do is make sure you click this link right here. It's gonna bring you to somewhere. Ours right here says defensive strategy. I'm gonna scoot it up a little bit so you guys can see me a little better and I can type a little better. But so it says name and describe each defensive position we learned today. So you guys know all those players we learned today. I'm gonna have you guys fill that out. But this is the most important part, is your name. So my name is Jay, and I'm Mr. Wilkerson. So I'm gonna put Jay Wilkerson so I can get credit. You guys need to put your name, first and last name, so you get credit. If you don't put your first and last name, we don't know whose it is, and you won't get credit. So just leave that there, and then your answer. So I'm gonna do our offensive players just so I don't give you guys the answers. You don't copy off of me, but we're gonna put our running back like we learned last week. We learned about the running back, and you can put anything you want. Just it's got to be something short and simple. We don't expect you guys to write a book or a page or nothing. Just a little thing. It could be a couple cues about the player. So running back, sometimes they block for the quarterback, QB. I'm gonna put QB, and then sometimes they run the ball. And then you can put a period or whatever you want, and then just put the next position. So we'll put like wide receiver. I spelled that wrong. So you want to put that there, and then you just put your little dash and say like runs, routes, tries to catch the ball. It is nothing crazy, guys. We're not asking a lot from you here, but you do have to make sure you do every position for us, and make sure that you put just something simple down, and seriously make sure you put your name down. That's the most important. We don't want anyone doing all this work and not getting credit for it. But after you do that, guys, you don't delete it. I'm just deleting it because I don't want to save or anything. But after you do that, you just hit submit, and that's it. That's all it is. It's pretty simple for you all. And we're not asking much, but I'm gonna click back into here. I'm gonna go back a couple of slides so you guys can look at the players one more time. And just a quick little recap: safety, make sure nobody happens behind them. Last line defense, cornerback, cover the receiver, out the linebackers. Pretty much they're the best tacklers on the field. Defensive ends, contain the outside and make tackles, put pressure on the quarterback. Tackles, defensive tackles, their job is to rush the quarterback and to make tackles in the backfield. So that's our lesson for you guys. Please be safe. Remember to wear a mask at all times. Wash your hands. Cover your mouth when you're coughing or sneezing. Um, and stay safe, guys. We really appreciate you guys dealing with this COVID situation as well as you can. Hopefully, things get better soon. But have a great afternoon, guys. Thank you so much.